Good afternoon to all who are here. We'll just wait another minute for others to join and then we'll begin the webinar. Good afternoon again and a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined this webinar. I'm very pleased to introduce the speaker today, Gurvinder Singh. Gurvinder is in fact an electric engineer by training, and he worked for several years in the telecom sector in the US before coming to India. And for the last 23 years, he has been the coordinator of the Krishnamurti Study Center at the Valley School campus in Bangalore. Today, Gurvinder is going to be looking at the connection between the study center and the educational work of the school, what it means for students, teachers, parents, as well as others who are interested in education. I might mention that the study center is very central to the various Krishnamurti Foundation campuses around the country. So Gurvinder, it's good to have you here, and I hand over to you now.
All right. So today I'll be talking about the theme Study Center and School, a shared journey. So I'll share the PowerPoint. Give me a minute.
Yes, it's on the screen now.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to find my PowerPoint.
Right, okay, sure.
Okay, so most of us are familiar with the schools because we have ourselves studied in the schools. And study center may be something of a new concept for people who are not in the foundation. So Krishnamurti established Rishi Valley School in 1926, and after that, in 1930s, the school came up in Varanasi, and then other schools also came up. We have six schools in India, and it was later in his life, around 1977, that Krishnamurti began to discuss with his close colleagues about a need for a center where people who are interested in the teachings, in deeper issues of life, they can come together and they can study, they can be quiet, and they can have dialogue with each other. So since the study center in Bangalore, we are on the same campus as the Valley School, we have a responsibility to work with the young minds and also the educators to bring about a different kind of education. So these centers are not exclusively for adults. At some point, Krishnamurti had made a statement, a door open for anyone. So regardless of age, sex, language, and so on, people should be able to engage in deeper questions. So why did Krishnamurti start a study center? As we know that our lifestyle is becoming very hectic, and the urban areas are crowded and they are also becoming loud. So people don't find enough space and time to step back and reflect on what is going in their lives. So study centers are places of quietness, where people can come and immerse themselves in reflecting on the teachings and their lives. Krishnamurti placed a lot of importance to dialogue. Dialogue is a form of conversation where we are concerned with looking at our deeper assumptions and examining them and questioning them, and then perhaps seeing the falseness of it and then going beyond them. So a dialogue is without any end in mind. The dialogue is a process of learning where there is no authority, there is no hierarchy. So anybody can pose a question, anyone can respond, and the question and answer can go back and forth until only the question remains. These places are set in natural surroundings and they are of great beauty. By beauty here we mean order. When there is order outside, then the atmosphere is conducive for the individual to go inward and perhaps create that order inside. So only when we investigate, we see the nature of the self, that inner beauty can be realized. So Krishnamurti felt that these places should not be of any kind of authority, because at some point he did consider the word ashram for these places, but then he steered away from it because they have a traditional connotation where they may be uh, some rituals, some authority which who's telling people what to do, what to think, and so on. So these places are meant to investigate in freedom, where one has one can go at one's own pace and discover something new for oneself. And he felt that the study center will enhance, enrich, bring a new color, a new perfume to the school. So in the school we have teachers who are not only subject matter experts, but also they are interested in learning about themselves, and in that process they engage with the children in awakening the intelligence. So we have seen many instances where individual has come to the study center to delve deep into the teachings, and then subsequently they have decided to join the schools. So the study center and the school, they can be a movement. So in the school, Valley School, we have classes 1 to 12, and each class has a section which we call the learning group. So all the 24 learning groups, they come to the study center for a session for around 2 to 3 hours. And this has been going on since 1991, when this study center came into existence in Bangalore. So when I started out around 20 years back, some teachers cautioned me that in order to engage with the children in a deeper inquiry, one has to be a subject teacher. So I listened to them, but I found that although it helps to be a subject teacher, but that's not a prerequisite to engage with the children, because the children, when they are young, let's say when they are in junior school or middle school, they don't really make a distinction between learning a subject and learning about themselves. This notion about giving priority to the subjects comes later in life, maybe when they are in the senior school. So I feel that it is possible to relate with the children even though one is not a subject teacher, because it can work both ways. So if you are not a subject teacher, then children, they don't have an image about the facilitator, nor do I have the image about the children. So there is a free flow of communication, and they do open up when they are in the study center. So some of the aims of children's program, I will list few. learning the art of listening and looking. So, is it possible to listen without any prejudice or any background of prior knowledge? Just listen to somebody. So, we do experiment with this in our activities in the children program. Awakening all the senses so that they are working at highest capacity. Dealing with conflict, change, fear, and desire, because these are some of the dominant factors in human consciousness that occupy the mind. So we have to learn to deal with them at a very young age. Experiencing the quietness of a place, understanding body, mind, and emotions. So the body has to be very sensitive, the mind in order, and emotions not too exaggerated, so that all these three are in harmony. Exploring relationships. So we take up many activities and discussions around human relationships. So we design the program according to the age of the children, because they have to be able to relate with it and uh, engage with the program. So we have to consider the age. And we also talk to the teachers in the school to find out what are the trends. So, for example, if teachers are finding that children are spending too much time on the gadgets, we may not take up the theme directly, but we may take up a larger issue. For example, we may take up the pursuit of pleasure and entertainment. What drives human beings to pursue pleasure? We may take up issues like boredom, loneliness, and so on. And then in that, we also address the problem of too much screen time. So children, the teacher may tell us that a particular group has some issues with cooperation. So then we may take up issues like relationship. How do we actually relate with each other? And then deal with the question of relationship. So in the beginning, when the children come to the study center, we engage with some activity, whether it is outdoor or through body awareness, so that they come in contact with themselves, to quieten the mind, to become aware of their surrounding, become aware of what is going on uh, in their mind, in their body, and so on. And when the mind is calm, then we can go into some deeper investigation. So the children in the Valley School, they walk from the school to the study center, which is about 1 kilometer. And in the middle, there is the art village and banyan tree. So the children, they are asked to walk quietly for about half a kilometer without talking and in silence. So we have a water body in front of the dining hall of the study center. So whenever there is free time, we see that children, young children, they would put their hands in the water and look at the fish. So one does not have to prompt. They are in that mode of engaging with the senses. So the program can only help them move in that direction. This is one of the activities we do outdoors, where a child takes a partner to a rope which is tied around several trees and leaves them there. Um, and when we notice when somebody is blindfolded, there are other senses like listening, touch, and so on become much more alert. This is another activity to quieten the mind. Here, this is class 1 children. They are balancing a plate on a stick. So this is not a skill-based activity, but it is to bring awareness and to quieten the mind. And then maybe later we will discuss something that we can relate with our day-to-day life. Here are some children from Iran. Several years ago, a group of teachers and children came to the Valley School for a week, and they wanted to explore a different alternative school. So this was a underground school in Iran, which was not affiliated to anything. It was just some concerned educators and parents coming and starting a school. So here we can see this boy, he's holding the plates in both the hands, balancing the plates in hands, and then he has something on his head, and these cups are full of water. So they do this at various times. They will start with one plate and one stick, and then gradually build on it. And again, this is just to quieten the mind. This is a taste activity where with the young children, we want to introduce all the 6 tastes, because children generally avoid tastes which are astringent or bitter in nature. So we may take something which is extremely bitter and mild bitter, and then ask the children to try the various tastes. And then similarly, we have a smell activity where we put some cut vegetables in jars, and the jars have holes. So they have to smell and guess what vegetable it is and then draw it. So this is just to give you a sample of it, because we have done hundreds of such activities. Here we are doing body awareness in lying down position, and also becoming aware of breath at the same time. So for deeper relaxation, we have found this stick to be helpful. So the stick is placed on the children's body, and then they have to feel the stick rising up and sinking down with each breath. So that gives them the indication whether their abdomen is rising up or down. So this allows children to go into a deeper relaxation.
Gurvinder, if I may interrupt for just a second. Just to attendees, I'd just like to tell you that at any point, if any questions occur to you, please do type in your questions in the Q&A, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen. All through, at any time, you can type your questions. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the themes that we have taken up with the junior school children is the influence of advertisement. So we show them a short cartoon which is on public broadcasting service, Food for Thought, and then we pose certain questions to them, and they explore those questions. So these are some of the questions that are posed to them, and they share their experiences, what goes on in their, whether they sometimes they have bought a product by seeing an advertisement and they were disappointed, and then what action they took. So when the children come to the study center, it's not that this is over. So when they go back to the school, the teacher may ask them to reflect on their morning session. The children may reflect by drawing or by writing something of what happened at the study center. And then some teachers, they also may pick up on some of these activities that we do to quieten the mind, and they may do that at the beginning of the class in the school. Here's a activity that we have done since 2011. Uh, there was a Krishnamurti Journal of Schools in 2011, which had some articles on dealing with fear. And there was also a kit put together for children's activities, which are theater based, to bring the fear out and then through theater and then maybe discuss it. So, 4 fears are dealt with in these activities. One is the fear of exams, people related fears, uh, fear of insects and animals, and fear of death and loneliness. So these kits probably are still available in the bookstore in Vasant Vihar. So this is one of the cards. So we divide the group into 4 or 5 children and give them a card. They have to pick up roles and then they practice it and then they present it in front of the group. So we give them about half an hour to do this, and they come up with quite creative stories. So the cards that are there are some cards which are meant for junior school children or middle school children, and then there are cards which are meant for senior school children because the fears change as we grow older. The fears have to do with future. So when we get older, the fears are of anticipatory nature, whereas for younger children, the fears are immediate. So we allow them to be creative and come up with any story that they like. Here's some children enacting a play. These 2 children on the floor, they are cows. So this boy has wandered off into, he went for a grazing the cattle and he got lost in some conversation. And the cow went into his neighboring field, and then he was afraid that the other farmer will come and pick a fight with him. So they have to enact this scenario. So we have also taken up this activity of manners. So we give them some scenarios, again in small groups. They have to come up with a story and present it to the group. So this is one of the issues that we are grappling with of uh, too much screen time, and the children, they bring up the conflict between the adult and the child quite openly. Also, we struggle with children not eating vegetables. They are too choosy about what they eat. So then again, we have them present something, and then later there's a discussion about it. And this also is this session ends with a short Krishnamurti video. And recently we did this with class 6, and it was quite amazing to watch that after this activity, the children were very quiet when they listened to Krishnamurti talk about manners. So senior school here is grade 6, grade 8 and above, grade 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So we have found that as children get older, there is a lot of peer pressure. So when we have to discuss something, we have found that it helps if they do self-reflection. So we give them some questions on a slip of paper, and have them reflect on it by writing. So we give them a pad and paper, they write independently of what their friends are thinking. And then there's a sharing. When we share, it's not necessary that they have to read from what they have written, but the asking the questions to themselves makes their mind active and interested in learning about the theme. So then when we have a discussion, it's a lively discussion because they have already thought about it independently. And also, I think one of the challenges in this activity is that um, that one section of the group, let's say class 8, if we take up certain questions, their response may be very different from another section of the group. So we have to be open to that possibility that every group has a different dynamics. So all these questions lead to a rich discussion. What all of us have had such experience where we have found ourselves to be judged. This is a activity we have done with the senior students in class 11th and 12th. Uh, this has to, we give a questionnaire to the children, around 20 questions, and they have to fill this out. Uh, I have only taken sample of it for this PowerPoint. So they fill this out for themselves. How do they think of themselves? Whether they are orderly, they are talkative, and so on. And then they do it. So they choose a friend, somebody whom they know very well, maybe somebody who's sharing room with them. So they feel that they know the person very well. And first they will, and we make them to sit next to each other and fill these two forms, one for themselves and one for their friend, who they think their friend is. Whether their friend is talkative or their friend is disorderly, the friend is interested in gossip or whatever. So they fill this up, and they both the children fill it up. Then we ask them to match what they have thought about themselves and what their friend thinks about them. And then they begin to realize that the image that they have about their friend is not very accurate. So this activity has to do with learning about relationships because we have images about each other and we treat those images as facts. But through this activity, the children begin to realize that the images they have are just something made up by their mind. There's no reality to it. Some of the things may match, but there are many things they realize don't match. So this program has been going on for many years now, and every once in a while the question would come up that if the program is going so well, then every group should go at least once a month to the school, to the study center. So this is a day school, and there's a lot of time constraint in the school because children are exposed to many things, and the study center also has a time constraint that we cannot have the programs so frequently because we have many other programs, as you will see. Um, so um, so as we were discussing, we had a person here by the name of Professor Krishnanath. So he made a very profound statement, which he said that may the children partake in the fragrance of the study center. So, so maybe that's the one of the key cornerstone of the children program at the study center. So we have staff meetings for teachers every month, which is usually on Saturdays in the study center, which is 3 hours long meeting. And some of the formats that we have tried are that a theme is introduced by one of us, and then the staff divide into small groups. A reading material is given, and then also some questions for reflection. So they that lead to a dialogue with the teachers. So they dialogue with each other for about an hour, and then which is followed by a video on the theme. Sometimes we have taken this format where we choose a theme and give the theme to few teachers ahead of time. So each teacher speaks for around 5 minutes, and then they kind of form a panel, and then rest of the teachers they can cross question them. And then we once in a while have a quiet session at the study center where there is no activity, and the teachers, because they have very hectic schedule, they get some time to just be quiet and reflect. So these are we took up a theme of learning. So these are just sample questions which the teachers engaged with in small groups. So we make a distinction between learning a skill and learning about oneself? What is the process and how is it different? So with the teachers, we also have a retreat at the end of the year where the teachers of the Valley School, they stay on the campus for 3 days, and every morning we take up a theme related to Krishnamurti's teachings and discuss it. So one of the challenges in this is that the teachers, they very quickly, when we are taking up a theme, they are able to relate with what is actually going on in their relationship with the child. Uh, so they have many anecdotes and stories to share. So, but we have to kind of remind them to go inward and see how their mind is learning, how they are engaging with this topic. So every once a term we have meetings with the parents. The parents of all the groups, they come to the study center. Some reading material is sent to them ahead of time, and we inform parents that these meetings are about learning about themselves and not all the time be concerned about my child or a particular problem I am facing in the school with respect to my child. So there are different forums where they can discuss. In the study center, we are mainly concerned about uh, the the education and what does this holistic education really mean. So more recently, we have taken the theme of discipline, responsibility, fear with the parents. So the meetings are usually for an hour and a half. During the first hour, there is a dialogue, which is followed by a videos of Krishnamurti. So for grades 8 and above, the children also come along with the parents. So in this, so children also are encouraged to read the material before they come for the meetings. So in these meetings, we find that the children they get an opportunity to cross question their parents and challenge their assumptions about what their child is, what their expectation of a child is, and so on. They can challenge, and they can also challenge the statements which Krishnamurti has made. So some of the themes discussed with in the parents' meetings, dealing with fear, the very nature of intelligence is sensitivity. So we find that the children have a very perceptive mind. They are able to challenge the parents and they come up with something totally new, which even a person who has been working in the study center may not have realized. So I remember recently in one of the meetings, after the meeting got over and I was standing by myself, one class 9th girl, she walked up to me because the theme was intelligence, and she said that you will know intelligence when you are by yourself. So maybe she implied that you can talk all about intelligence, but you really know how intelligent you are when you are by yourself. So we also, the study center is open to retreat for educators who may or may not work in the Valley School, uh, because the educators also, they are caught in some kind of a pattern and they repeat the pattern without questioning what they are doing, whether they are, whatever they are doing, whether it is really working or it is counterproductive. So we get many requests from educators around the country who would like to spend few days in the study center premises. So we have the retreat for Valley School teachers at the end of academic year, and we have also had retreat for parents of the Valley School where they come voluntarily for a few days and then spend few days reflecting on certain themes related to the teachings. Some schools in Bangalore also have asked for a 2 to 3 day retreat for their teachers. We have had a number of school groups from the Tibetan settlement schools in northern India and Nepal, the principals and heads of schools, they have come for retreats. So during the retreats, they may also have interaction with the Valley School. They may go to the art village. We have discussions with the director, principal, and various coordinators to learn about the pedagogy of the school also. We have had a retreat for principals of B.Ed colleges in Karnataka. So this is one of the pictures of, yeah, we have had some retreat for principal of schools from Delhi, Tamil Nadu, and so on. Here's a group of teachers and principals from Tibetan settlement schools. So we noticed that through their coordinator, we found that when the teachers go back, they do change the way they interact with the children, and they do change their policies on how to educate and their curriculum and so on. They take a serious look at it. Here is a group of principals of B.Ed colleges who had come and for a retreat. So in these retreats, we may take up themes related to Krishnamurti's teachings, such as comparison and competition, reward and punishment, dealing with fear. And in this retreat, there is a possibility not only to discuss the teachings, but also engage in some activities. So we may have nature walks, and we find that the older people, They are as receptive to nature as children are. So before they go for a nature walk, we read them a passage of Krishnamurti with some suggestion that can you look at the tree, can you look at the birds without naming it? Just as an experiment, just try it out and see what happens. So we have theme-based dialogues during the day, some videos. They may spend some time at the art village doing some clay work. We also have some games, light games, where they begin to loosen up and realize what does it mean to be a child, listening to music, quiet sessions. So one thing about this educators who come from outside, because we have had some schools like Purna school from Bangalore and other schools, the teachers have come for a retreat, and none of them, except maybe one or two, had some exposure to Krishnamurti's teachings, but most of them they had no exposure to the teachings. So when they come to the retreat, that was their first exposure to the teachings. So they do also, we give them some reading material to read. Uh, and the advantage of being in retreat is that when you spend time here, especially in the evenings and night, the mind becomes really quiet. And that allows one to go deeper into oneself. More recently, we have created a database with the help of parent volunteers on segments of Krishnamurti's discussions on education. Uh, so we have about 100 themes, and we have selected parts of it, maybe around 15 minutes or 20 minutes on themes like fear or relationship or and then these themes can be shown to any education group. So we have shared this with all the KFI schools and study centers, and we can share this with any group of teachers if you would like to get this consolidated themes which are related to education. We can send you if you write to us on this email address. So I feel that the study centers and schools can work together and complement each other in many ways, especially the study centers which are on the same campus as the school, because the space in the study center is somewhat different, and the way we conduct our programs is also slightly different, because when a child comes or a teacher comes, they feel that they're not being rushed. There's no timetable. So everything flows one thing to the other uh, very naturally. So this is a different space. So I think all adults and children should get exposure to this way of functioning where there's no pressure, where there's no outcome to be decided. So we have also study centers which are standalone, which are not with the schools. They can also relate with educational institutions which are open to this kind of inquiry and going deeper into oneself. So this is the end of the slides. So we can open it up for discussion and question Q&A.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gurvinder. That was such an interesting, uh, comprehensive picture of what's going on in the study center, uh, with a sort of deceptive simplicity, because I'm sure a great deal of thought has gone into all of this. And I'm curious about various things which seem to come out of it. I'd like first let me again invite people to put their questions in the Q&A. Some questions are already here. And I'd like to begin with just a few very basic questions about, I would say structural questions. One is how many people are involved in the study center at Bangalore? I presume the question refers to people who are involved in these kinds of programs.
Yes, I actually forgot to mention that it really helps to have a team of people who are working. So have been very fortunate that we have a team of people who are working here. So right now there are three people who are full time, and then we have some who works part time, and then we have many parent volunteers who have contributed significantly to the work of the study center. Uh, so yeah, because I think one is that when we are designing these programs, it helps to bounce the ideas with other people who are equally interested and who can also give critical viewpoints which one may have missed. But if one is working just by oneself, you can go on a single track and not realize.
Right. Yeah. In fact, this sort of leads me into another question, which is who's involved in the design of the program for children? I mean, you of course mentioned a team. So, in fact, if you can give us a little bit of a historical perspective, because what you presented is so rich, and I'm sure it's evolved over time. So, if you can give us a sense of how the whole program evolved.
Yes. So before I took up the children's program, we had a convener here called Sushma Inamdar. So she started the program with the help of parent volunteers. So they used to design the program and then invite the children into the study center. So it had been going on since when I came. So I picked up on it and then brought in new themes, new way of doing things. So, and then once in a while we have had volunteers and some other people also working along with me. Right now also we have Padma Priya and Kunal, they join in when we are having children's program. And I do discuss with them certain themes and questions, especially coming up with the leading questions. It's helpful to come up as a group.
Right. Here's a question which has more to do with the coordinator. So that's you. In fact, one question is again technical and one is more, I would say, inward. How much time of the study center coordinator is spent at the study center? Does school or any other unit engage the coordinator's time? So is your time at the study center alone, or do you have to do other things?
No, mostly I'm at the study center. Once in a while, the school may engage me with some project which may be time limited for 1 or 2 months, but
Right.
mostly I'm working at the study center.
Right. And a related question is how critical is your own quiet time, time for reflection and so on to hold the study center space?
Yes, I think that is because I find that usually I have some insight when I wake up in the morning or when I'm sitting by myself that, oh, there is a possibility we can try this, or did not go well. So maybe this is where I went wrong. So I should not have done that. So yeah, I think this quiet reflection is very important. So it's very important that the day should not be packed because most of these insights come when one is not fairly active.
Right. Yeah. And have you found over time that you've been able to create that kind of space for yourself?
Yes, because I live on the campus, so I don't have any other engagement
Yeah.
outside the study center. So yes, I would say yes, I do have that space to come up with something new or even repeat something old with some changes. and
Right.
then also sharing with others whether this is the right approach.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, earlier you had mentioned that teachers' lives tend to be quite hectic, and therefore, one of the things that the visits to the study center does for teachers, though it's only once a month and for 3 hours, is it does create a kind of space. And you said sometimes there are sessions which are just silent for self-reflection. And, as somebody who's been at the study center for some of those sessions, I've felt the value of those. And so a question I've had is, the study center has its fragrance, to borrow Krishnanathji's word. Um, and how do we manage to sort of not allow that fragrance to get lost completely in the busyness of, you know, the daily work, which is part of any school?
Uh, according to my observation, I feel that this creating of the space comes with certain priority. If this is again observing the staff, because I've seen for some teachers who have a priority for this, they are able to create that space even in a hectic environment. So they will sometimes take time to come to the study center or come for a walk or spend some time, and then so it really depends on individual's priority, because if we don't realize it, then we can dissipate our energies in many possible ways. And in the school there's so much going on that one can get involved in so many things. So I think it comes with having a priority. You see the importance of it, and then you find the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Because of course, when you're a teacher and you're working with children all the time, uh, you can find that everything you're doing is quite absorbing and enjoyable and even energizing in some ways, because children carry so much energy.
Yes.
And yet, sometimes at the end of the day, you realize that a day has just gone by without any space for quietness and reflection. So, I really appreciate what you said about being clear about priorities and, wanting to find that space. And then I guess one just will do so. Yeah. So, here's a question about the program, and I'm just reading the question out to you. Could you please share more about the program design aspects and its processes, and how teachers and would-be teachers can participate in such collaboration and learning? Is there a course pathway that one can enroll in?
We have not given a thought to having a course or writing a book, because I also do consult some resources, or have consulted in the past regarding creating some such activities. So we have some resources which we have used, because I think these kind of activities that we do with the children are being tried in other places in the world. So it's not something radically different. It's out there on the internet, in the books. Uh, so, but then to pick and choose what works, because I also tried some things, given up some things, because I may try an activity, then I realize, oh, this is, if my aim is to settle the children, but it's having the opposite effect, then I have to change
Mm,
and not do such things when they come to the study center.
right.
So some is trial and error, uh, and then part of it is intuition. What might work. So, for example,
Right.
I there is a pot in the study center in one of the corners. So I took the pot and put in the middle of the circle. So then I did some eye exercises with the children, junior school children, and I said, now focus on the pot. So they, without moving your eyes, hands, anything, just look at the pot. So they are able to do it. So this is
Yeah,
not in any book. I just
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I suppose having such a rich environment around you with a lot of natural and beautiful objects must surely help. I think what also strikes me at the study center whenever I go there is the quality of silence of the space, which of course is true for much of Valley School's campus. But I think just for many people, I think who visit the study center also, that itself matters so much.
Yeah, I think what happens is that if a place is used for a particular purpose
Yeah,
over many years and many decades, uh, let's say this place is meant for quietness or quiet room, I think that some atmosphere gets created around that space.
right.
Because I've
Absolutely.
I've noticed that when I've gone to some monasteries or in the Himalayas, that such when you the moment you enter, you notice that there's something different.
Right. Yeah. Now, you had spoken about retreats for educators, that is, educators who are not in the Krishnamurti schools. So there's just a question, is there one that's happening this year? I suppose the implication is, and if so, is it open to anybody?
Well, we have a retreat coming up in September, which is education and significance of life, something to that effect. So that is open to any educator. This is a 3-day retreat. Usually, what happens is a group of teachers in a school or a college, they approach us and say that, can you do a retreat for us? So maybe one person from that group has come here and maybe attended a retreat, and they go back and say that as a group we should try this. So then they
Right,
write to us, and we can organize a retreat for a group of maybe 10 or 12 people.
right. Yeah, yeah. And I suppose if anybody wants details about this upcoming retreat in September, where would they find the details? And
It's on our
uh,
website, kfistudy.org.
right, okay. Now here there's a question, and this has to do with questions from children. How do you tackle questions from children on possible contradictions as children view them between the teachings and the exam and competition driven educational landscape?
Yeah, that's a good question. But here I feel that this, uh, because in some of the recent videos I've watched of Krishnamurti, he said that you have exams, but why should you have fear of exams? But in Valley School, the way I understand, the teachers are engaging with the children on this question because they are eased into examination in class ninth. They may not give any marks for the first few months. And when they give marks, and then the question comes up about who got more, what is the class average. So when the teachers are dealing with this on an ongoing basis, then I think the children, because most of the programs we have are for Valley School children, so at least they have not brought up this issue, but they may bring up other contradictions in adult life and children's life. For example, more recently, when we are talking about gadgets, in the middle school, some of the children were saying that my father is using it, my mother is using it all the time. They seem to be playing video games. So why? How can he ask me not to do it? So, so they do raise questions uh, regarding other contradictions.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just from what you said at the end, uh, you know, over the years, I've also sometimes seen students noticing contradictions between something they're hearing in the school or the study center and something they're hearing from society at large, including their immediate families. And so, if a child asks a question of this kind, listen, this is what you're saying, but this is what is happening at home, or this is what I'm hearing at home, how would you address that?
Well, I mean, we try to talk to them that maybe your parent is spending too much time on the device because their job may require it. That is one.
Right,
And the thing is, at least I bring it up that we can be different than our parents. We don't have to imitate others. So we can, because there are so many studies which show that the child's brain is developing, and if it's overexposed to a device, it can be detrimental to the development of the brain. So what
right,
adults do and what children do are something two different things.
right,
And the children don't have, even if let's say children have noticed some behavior in the adults, they can break away from it. They need not copy it.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Here is a question concerning teachers. Do you think it is a challenge to carry the perspective of intellectual understanding a teacher may have gained during the retreat back into the school? How does one continue carrying that energy?
Yes, I think one thing that we have to realize is that Krishnamurti has given a broad vision of education. Now, how much we can do, or can we go all the way? I have not seen that happen anywhere. But even if I am able to understand simple things like reward and punishment, do not promote learning. Because if I become dependent on a reward, then if the reward is taken away, I lose my motivation. Or the threat of punishment may work in the short term, but it may do long term damage. So if I learn few things and begin to implement them in my educational institution, I think it makes a profound difference. The whole atmosphere of the place will change, even if few things are understood and carried out. So it's not that one has to go all the way, because ultimately Krishnamurti is asking about transformation of man. But if I say that, okay, I can't do it, or it's too difficult, then we will be, stopping from exploration. So I think we have to go at a pace where we can understand ourselves, and then maybe create a atmosphere around us by showing the importance of something. So if you see that comparison or competition is uh, not a factor for learning or achieving or outdoing somebody else, the learning can be collaborative. If you realize that, then you will create a different atmosphere.
Absolutely. Yeah. But having said that, I'd like to just push this a little further, which is that, the study center is a beautiful and very meaningful space dedicated to uh, the various processes of reflection on issues, learning to look at oneself, deepening the senses, and all of that. And that's the sole purpose, I suppose, of the study center. And yet, as children, as teachers, as parents, as other educators, uh, we come there having, in some sense, suspended our lives in the non-study center world. And I'm just wondering whether, in all your years of coordinating the functioning of the study center, this has ever felt like a dichotomy, whether this has ever felt as if, the study center is a distinct space, and yet there's another world which has overwhelming kind of momentum and presence in people's lives. Is the study center ever more than merely a temporary retreat? I'm deliberately asking this a bit provocatively. I just want to know what
Yes.
your experience has been.
Yes. So, I mean, I will respond it to it from a personal perspective, because I
Right.
do I spend around 9 months in the study center, and 3 months I go away, and go away in a totally different environment. But so it's not that I have to adapt myself to the environment or do what other people are doing. So those questions, these reflections, they go with me wherever I am.
Right.
So even a common issue like finding a contractor to fix your house or changing air conditioning, your approach towards it changes. You approach things without anxiety, without fear. You take chances, you take risks. You're not held to, okay, I did this in the past, I should just keep repeating what is working. So one can see the working of mind wherever one is.
Right.
So it's not just. Actually, I sometimes really like to walk away from it, because I also get this question that here is a perfect environment and we keep talking about these things, but when I walk away, what am I? Am I a different person?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I guess that's a challenge for all of us. The fact that we live in multiple spaces and each space seems to have its own implicit rules of engagement. So how do we carry, the kind of space we gather at the study center into our non-study center lives?
Yes, and people I feel around you, your neighbors, your relatives, they begin to notice that there is something different.
Right.
So, I mean, you cannot quantify it, you cannot put labels on it, but they do notice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So here are just two very specific questions. You had spoken about books on fear, that fear workshop and the availability of these books at Vasant Vihar. Could you just say a little more about this, about these books and where they might be available?
Well, I was referring to the Journal of Krishnamurti Schools.
Right,
So this journal, I mean, the hard copy may not be there, but it's online.
right,
So journal is online. But last time when I went to the bookstore, I saw a few copies of this at Vasant Vihar.
right.
So if
Yeah,
you write to them, they may be able to find it. Uh, this is a kit which has activities not only for children but also for teachers,
right. Yeah,
which deal with this issue of dealing with the fear.
right. Yeah. In fact, there's a related question which I think you've implicitly just answered is the educational journal still being published? And I can answer that too. It is. In fact, the most recent issue has just come out, and the hard copies are currently available, but all the back copies are available on a dedicated website. So if you just look up Krishnamurti, the Journal of Krishnamurti Schools, you'll get to the website and you can access all the issues. So here I'm just looking at the other questions. Sorry, just give me a second. Okay, so here's a broad question. I would like to know how self-knowledge can be incorporated into external school accreditation systems.
Uh, I'm not familiar with accreditation process, so
Right,
I would not be able to answer because I'm not too much familiar with the education system.
right.
So
Yeah.
I will not be able to answer that.
Okay. Let me ask then a sort of modified version of that question. And maybe you've already looked at it in response to a previous question, which is how would self-knowledge be incorporated? I'm not sure if that's the best word,
Yes.
but just into um, anybody's everyday life, whether it's in education or in anything else.
Yes. I feel that again, knowledge, we have to make a distinction between knowledge and knowing. Knowledge again is something that I read or I reflect on, make some conclusions, and then I begin to operate on that. Whereas self-knowing is a active present process. So, uh, so if one is inquiring and holding the question, and then exploring it and seeing how the mind is able to take it forward, um, either through self-reflection, or a dialogue can be a mode in which this reflection can happen, that I'm stuck somewhere and all of a sudden I realize that I'm stuck because I'm holding on to this conclusion, or I'm projecting something in the future. So, so this self-knowing can be an active process. Uh, and again, this self-knowing is does not have a end, because I may have realized something, and then after a few months, I realized that I've slipped back into my habitual way of thinking or habitual way of doing things. So then I have to take it up afresh and then explore it and see whether there's a different way of doing it or different way of looking at it. Um, so I think this self-knowing is something that renews the brain. It it is ever fresh, so it's not something that is repeated or repeatable. That once I've learned that it should stay with me forever, because we realize that we do have certain conditioning and we do slip back into that for various reasons. So having an insight and then moving further from that.
I like this distinction you're making between self-knowledge, which sounds like something that's a bit hard, and self-knowing, which sounds more like a process. And I would just like to ask, as a follow-up question, do you feel that self-knowing is contingent upon having, a quiet space, having time, or can it be part of anybody's life, regardless of how busy they are, regardless of the circumstances? Is it merely a matter of prioritizing, which is something you'd mentioned earlier? Or do you think there are other factors which are necessary for it to happen?
Um, I think the place like a study center can, let's say, one somebody is here for 1 or 2 days or 3 days or more. So it can act as a reminder that there is such a thing as a quiet space where one can learn, and there is a possibility of self-knowing. So once one realizes it, it goes on, whether I'm in a job, or because there is a relationship with the boss, relationship with my colleagues, or even I'm traveling, I have a relationship with the auto driver. So all these questions remain alive. I
Right.
think that it's only when they go in the background and we make a distinction between a functional life and then personal life, where these questions arise, then I think there is a issue, because then you need more reminders. But I feel that once I see it, then it can happen wherever I am, because we do get spaces. Let's say when I'm traveling in the metro or auto, there is you are looking at, let's say, the poor person, somebody who's begging. What is my response to that? Uh, can I look at it without any kind of idea or prejudice of anything that I've heard from other people? So one can experiment. I think one can do these experiments wherever one is. It's not that it can happen only in a quiet space like the study center.
Right. But would you say that it helps to have an experience of something like a retreat, whether it's for 3 hours or 3 days, to sort of catalyze that quality of being able to look even in the everyday?
It may help.
Right.
I'm not sure, because
Yeah.
I started out, when I was fairly young, to go to these places out of curiosity.
Right.
And when I first time when I went to Ojai, California, for a week. At that time, I was eating non-vegetarian food. But then when I was there, something changed. And when I came back, I never felt like eating again.
Right.
So it's not, they didn't do anything. They
Right.
didn't teach me anything. They didn't tell me anything. But
Yeah.
maybe that question was already there and somehow it starts working. And then when you come back, you're finished with it. You're no
Right.
longer repeating whatever you were doing earlier.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So here are just a couple more questions. One is, do you encourage dialogue involving an exploration of other philosophies or teachings for those keen to understand how those mirror or do not mirror Krishnaji's teachings?
Yeah, that's a good question because it does come up because because I have interacted with many philosophers who have studied Krishnamurti and Buddhism and Hinduism and Vedic philosophy and so on. And they have come to the study center. We have had a number of dialogues with them. Uh, I'm personally not a very studied person in that sense, and I've looked at Buddhism and Vedas and Yoga Sutras, but not so deeply. But I've had discussions with other people. And the understanding that I've come to is that if you are studying Buddhism, you study that in itself, see what Buddhism has to teach on life and what meaning it is giving to you without comparing it with something else. Because the moment I start comparison, then it becomes an intellectual activity. Whereas here we are concerned with insight and a possibility of changing something deeply. So there it helps to study one thing, whether it is, if let's say somebody picks up Yoga Sutras and say that this is helping me in meditation, or they go to Vipassana, or they go to some other center, and if it is helping them, then you move on with that until you realize the futility of it, or you realize that it is I'm creating another illusion, or I'm being self-deceptive, or I'm just being led by suggestions. So I think it helps to look at one thing and then study it deeply, not compare with others. So that's why in the study center, we very rarely take up this as comparative studies. We only take up Krishnamurti studies. And then once in a while, somebody may say that I've had this insight when I was reading Buddhism. So we allow that, we don't suppress it.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, I also noticed that at the study center, which has a very fine library, it's quite an eclectic collection of books. I mean, the books are not restricted to Krishnamurti books. You have quite a range of books, and not even all philosophy and spirituality. You have other kinds of books that in fact, one question I might ask is, on what basis do you decide what to include and what not to include in the library, or has it just happened sort of by default?
Well, there is a core list which has been circulated in the study center meetings about
Right,
what kind of books to keep.
right,
I think there are like 40 or 50 different themes
right,
so there is some suggestion. So,
right,
and part of it has happened over time where people have donated books and then we have accepted some and
right,
not accepted some. So it has depended a lot on the person who was here. And
right,
earlier we had much of the library was done when Dr. Inamdar and Professor
right,
Krishnanath were there. So they were instrumental in collecting those books.
right. Yeah. Here's a question about students. If possible, I'd like to know about the students who've passed out or completed their education, and I'm interested in their journey. After spending a great time in a closed environment, how are they living in the real world?
I feel that the we do get some alumni who come to the study center. So but very rarely, for example, I've heard from them that this setting, after leaving this setting, they had problems in adjusting in the society. And if you really push it further, they say maybe the first year was a little difficult, but then after that, I was able to, go on with life. So that is one thing. But then again, we hear only from few people, at least in the study center. I think school,
Right,
the visits are many more from the alumni, and at least few of the alumni have become teachers in the school, and we can see they are exploring these teachings in a living manner. It's not
right,
just intellectual. And also, some of our students have taken very different career paths, like
right,
becoming a musician or artist. So they may explore that in their profession. Uh, so, but I think there is also one of the things that at least I notice in the alumni is that they have a very core ethics of safeguarding the environment, of planting trees, looking after nature, not taking the minimum from the nature. So they are very careful about natural things or the natural world. So that
right,
sensitivity is quite heightened.
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in fact, just one small thing as somebody who's been teaching in these schools for quite a while, I sometimes find that this dichotomy between the so-called closed or bubble environment of a Krishnamurti school and the real world, so-called outside, may not be helpful because I think the kinds of deep inner challenges we face are not really that different, whether one is in school or outside. Anyway, this is just something to think about. We have about 5 minutes, and there are two more questions I'd like to put to you from attendees. And one has to do with culture classes. Do you have a specific curriculum for students during the culture classes at the study center to explore self-knowledge and our conditioning based on the teachings? Or is it completely open-ended? And this person says, at the school where I work, we have a certain structure and a curriculum with certain lesson plans that explore ideas such as identity, epistemology, ethical reasoning, and so on. Uh, so I want to understand how these sessions are planned with students. I mean, is there a specific curriculum
Uh,
at the study center?
yes. Well, what happens is that the culture class in the school is usually for 40 minutes or at the most an hour. So there here is an extended time. So it can be considered a extension of the culture class, but it happens once in a term for every group. So I do keep a track of what themes I've taken up with a group of children over the years. So,
Right,
for example, I may take up something to do with the anger, which is an emotion, and fear, and then maybe we had also taken up a theme of what is a good life. So we take these a variety of themes to probe into the nature of the mind.
right,
So the at least the way I see is that there is no curriculum as such, but the themes lead to self-reflection,
right,
kind of stepping back and looking at our own lives. And I think that's one of the biggest, if somebody would say, a takeaway from these sessions, which a
right,
student can carry or a teacher can carry anywhere, is this ability to reflect on what is actually going on,
right,
what kind of confusion I'm going through. It's
right,
not to provide answers, but to have this ability to ask a question and stay with the question and
right.
allow the question to unravel. So
Yeah,
there is a certain, I would say, themes that we take up, and I keep a track of every group, what they have taken up in the past, and not try to repeat it, but
yeah,
approach from different angles, which leads to this self-inquiry.
absolutely. Thank you. And I think the last question that we'll have time for today, and it's a longish question. What suggestions do you have for teachers, both new and experienced, when it comes to having serious conversations with students? While it is desirable to have a designated group or individual who can have the regular interactions with students around certain themes, teachers are also required to respond to different situations as they arise by engaging students in deeper and ongoing conversations, even as regular classes continue. Very often, the concern being the conversations may not have a quality of openness or exploration. How can schools address this concern?
Well, I think the one of the things that at least I have tried to share in this presentation is that before we go into the inquiry, the at least I feel the mind has to be prepared for it, because in any educational institution there is a lot of intellectual activity going on, which is with the mind. So
Right,
can we do at least something which brings the child to the senses? At all levels, not only for junior classes, but at other classes also. Maybe work with the land, uh, uh, maybe spend time with a tree, something that allows the child to settle down. And then from there, one can go into this inquiry. Because if I just take the from the intellectual activity that is going on and I want to go towards inquiry, it may become another intellectual activity. I think this
absolutely.
requires a different approach. So maybe consider that in any school or institution is to have some kind of curriculum or some kind of a plan around bringing the child close to their senses,
Right. Yeah.
activating the senses.
Right. Yeah. That's a lovely place to end, actually, because when you mention that, it reminds me of some of those beautiful early slides where you showed ways in which that was being done quite concretely with younger children. And I guess the spirit of that extends all the way through, including with adults, to learn to uh, be attentive really to the world through one's senses and one's whole being. So thank you very much, Gurvinder. That was a wonderful session, and thank you to all who are here with us this afternoon. A video recording of this session will be available in case you want to revisit it at the Krishnamurti Foundation's YouTube channel. There's a playlist of these webinars which you can easily locate, and it'll come up there. So thanks again to all. Bye.
Bye.